Hey, modern math teacher. Today we're talking about the part of productive struggle that way too many people skip over, okay? And I get it because it takes a lot of work. Of course, we're talking about the planning, you guys, because listen, productive struggle doesn't just happen. It's not like throw a hard task at them and like let's pray it works out for us. And it's not let's hope they just wrestle with this and it'll work out just fine, okay? And it is definitely not. Well, let's just mix in a few word problems and we'll call that rigor, okay? Productive struggle is a design choice, okay? One that shows up in the planning before the students even walk into our room. And honestly, planning for productive struggle is planning for student thinking and planning for what you are going to actually do when your students actually struggle. Okay. So, in action 4 of our series, we're unpacking how to choose tasks, how to plan for what your students might do, how to anticipate those misconceptions, how to modify tasks to provoke deeper thinking, and how to prepare your teacher moves before the lesson even begins. Okay, this is a blend of mindset, mechanics, and a little bit of teacher magic, exactly the sweet spot for this podcast. So let's get into it. All right, you guys. Now, planning for productive struggle means that we are planning for the student moves, the student questions, their misconceptions, their strategies, and our teacher response. Okay. It is not planning a lecture, a procedure, or a rescue. The full planning cycle from the book has these different elements to it. You want to, one, identify the math goal, two, select or modify a task that achieves the goal and invites struggle, three, do the task yourself, four, anticipate what your students might do, five, plan your responses, and six, determine the closure and the reflection. Okay. So these steps might look and sound simple, but they fundamentally shift us from, covering content to designing for sense making, from delivering a lesson to facilitating mathematical reasoning, to hoping our students think, to intentionally planning moments where they must think. And this is one of the things that I highlighted, scribbled, all the things. Mathematical ideas should be amplified, not simplified. Over and over again, that came up in there. We want all of our students, not just the top group of students, to hear real mathematical language, to explore real relationships and connect real ideas. That is the foundation for rigor. Okay. Now, one of the biggest mindset shifts in this chapter is task quality isn't a bonus. It's the whole ball game. It's the whole kit and caboodle for us, okay? Because a low quality task can destroy productive struggle before it even happens. We need high quality tasks. Those are going to expose the misconceptions. They're going to invite multiple strategies. They're going to create productive student debate and dialogue and require representation and reasoning for our students. It's going to connect concepts. It's going to deepen their understanding. And that is why I'm currently loving piloting the Illustrative Mathematics curriculum, because the tasks are already designed to provoke reasoning and invite struggle. Okay. Now, you might be using a different curriculum. You might have to find some of these. You might have to design some of them for yourself. But regardless of whether you have a curriculum that supports productive struggle with these high quality tasks or you don't, we want to know, what does a rigorous set of tasks include? Okay, so now let's talk about what the actual 3 domains of rigor are. Okay, and why I have flagged this as one of my personal favorite parts, because it is keeping it with all 3 of these ideas in mind. One, the conceptual understanding. Your students are making meaning, they're connecting representations, they're seeing the why behind mathematics. Okay. Concepts cannot be taught by telling or showing. Students must actually grapple with it. As my girl Mona says, grappling. Okay. Procedural fluency. It's the second domain. Because yes, you guys, fluency totally matters. But fluency is strongest for our students when it grows out of that conceptual understanding. Here is one of my favorite lines in there. Sometimes, like 5 problems is as good as 25. Because too early procedural practice can lead to flawed procedures, superficial learning, frustration, unproductive struggle. Okay. But just right procedural practice is going to get our students into that fluency that has grown from that conceptual understanding. Okay. And third, application, this one's my jam. This is where more than just X comes alive, because application tasks, anything in the application domain of rigor, is they help reveal whether your students really understand the mathematics. They activate the sense making. They allow for multiple representations. They demand strategy selection, and they connect to real context. Okay. But you guys, be cautious, because application tasks can be what they call like a window dressing, aka a word problem with a thin story slapped on top of some naked numbers. Okay. We want authentic connections here. This is why projects, mini performance tasks, PBL elements work so beautifully, because rigor is combining all three of these domains. It's not one, it's not two, it is all three: the conceptual understanding, the procedural fluency, and the real and authentic applications of the mathematics. Now, let's talk about the heart of this chapter, because it's a big, beefy one. So, it is about modification strategies that can help provoke productive struggle, because most curricula don't necessarily give you a steady diet of high quality tasks. I should know, because I spent so many years doing those curriculum reports for ed reports. Okay. So I know quality instructional materials when I see them. A lot of them aren't going to come with a plethora of them. Some, yes. Tons, not necessarily. Okay. So you have to be able to upgrade the tasks from the curricula you've already got. Here's some of the strategies that I liked and loved in here. So I'm going to share a couple of those with you. One of them was to create or connect representations. I love this. It reminds me of the rule of four, the GNAV, the graphical, numerical, algebraic, and verbal or written diagrams, graphs, equations, words. Having your students create and connect all these different representations helps deepen the understanding when they can move flexibly between them. Okay. Another quick one you can use is, does this always work? Guys, I love this. It's simple because it pushes generalization, structure, and justification. So they have to really know that's always going to work. Reverse the question. So you can give the answer and then have your students create the question. Love that. Amplifies creativity and reasoning. A good one here that I liked was agree or disagree, but like, be careful. Use this one strategically. Because things like error analysis, like, do you agree that this is the solution, or do you disagree, right? Error analysis, just like too much procedural practice, should not happen too early, because your students could latch onto an error if they haven't built conceptual understanding yet. So, love this idea. You can see all of these in detail inside the book. Again, if you haven't grabbed it, go link in show notes. Link in show notes will have a copy that you can go grab. Whew, throwing things around in here. Okay. Couple more that I loved. Open questions. Perfect entry point for open middle tasks, open middle math. Fantastic. Compare and contrast ideas. But remember, you've got to be the teacher there and debrief the learning. Otherwise, they're just kind of sorting things. You want to be able to pull out, what are the similarities? How do those build on one another? How do those representations connect versus what are the differences? And why does that matter? Asking students to write or create a context is great. They can, you can give your students some sentence starters to get going with it, some graphic organizers, anchor charts, vocab, whatever it is you need to do. That's going to allow them to then kind of write all about the math that's going on in there. Or like asking before you teach, right? So that's like the spirit of illustrative math, or any inquiry-based learning, that and my own personal teaching preference, right? Where our students are going to build the meaning before the explanation. So I love this. It's like reversing the order. This is different, you guys, though, from what we experienced in math. Okay. And it's different from what our parents expect. And that is why we get pushback. Okay. It is a great moment for you to think about and reflect on that. Because if you're flipping the way things are teaching, and it's different from what you experience, and it's different from what the parents are experiencing, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling traumatized. And we need to assure them that, like, there is a better way, and you're here to do that with them. Okay. Assure them that productive math struggle is actually going to enhance your students' identities, beliefs, capabilities, and confidence. Okay. All right, guys. Now, here is another piece pulled from here, which also relates to the 5 practices for orchestrating mathematical discussions from Smith and Stein, which I love. And you guys, this one is a game changer, and it's one that too many of us skip over. Okay, so here's the thing. Before you assign a task, do it. Do it again. Do it in more than one way. Do it yourself. It's going to help you see those hidden complexities. It's going to help you realize how long the reasoning actually might take for our students. And it's going to help you identify the mathematical moves that your students might actually use. Okay. You are going to then be able to uncover where the language in the task might be unclear. Notice which representations actually matter, right? Teachers are often struck by how long it actually takes to explain their thinking. Okay, so this is your reminder, you guys. Their students aren't necessarily off task, they might be processing, and you need to give them time. Okay, now one of the most important planning moves here is anticipation. Anticipation has one of the biggest impacts on student learning because when we anticipate, we can anticipate the strategies, the errors, the misconceptions, all the multiple representations we want to connect, the student's needs, and the math behind their thinking. And we then become facilitators of struggle. I love this, you guys. This is where collaborative planning can become gold, right? Especially if you've got a team of teachers and you're all working from the same curriculum. Plan for this together because different teachers see different strategies. Different classes reveal different misconceptions, and different perspectives gives you better anticipation. Anticipation isn't optional, you guys. It is the backbone of the planning. So do the task, anticipate how your students might do it. That way, you're going to be primed and ready to facilitate it when we get into supporting the productive struggle. Now, this sets us up for act what your students are going to do, ask why they might do it, identify that underlying math concept, and create a question that moves their thinking forward. This is going to keep you from rescuing, funneling, or over explaining. These are three things you are not going to do. You're not going to rescue their thinking. You're going to let them sit there and grapple. You might need to give a nugget or a nudge, but that's it. When we do that, we're going to avoid funneling them towards your preferred method. Every student, every person views math a little bit differently. Give them a nugget or a nudge to get them unstuck, but don't rescue their thinking and don't funnel them towards your answer. And for the love of everything, please avoid over explaining, okay? Don't just show them the best method. Don't just show them and take away all of their opportunity to learn. Don't sit there and overly explain it. Let them get that little piece of wisdom from you, that nugget, that nudge. I love Mona. That's what she says. Mona Eel. She's fantastic. Um, and then go from there. Okay. Don't over explain it. Don't just sit there and teach them directly in that moment. When you see like when we're planning for our responses and we don't do those things, we can stay focused on student understanding and not teacher performance. Not teacher knows everything. If you rescue or you do any of those things too early, over explaining being one of them, then you're stopping that productive struggle and your students are going to become more reliant on you to just come in and rescue their thinking. You're going to teach them to do that instead of teaching them to productively struggle. So, that's not okay, right? Okay. Um so I said this is a long one because there's a lot of things to unpack and to talk about here. Now, a lot of us are drawn to direct instruction because again, that's what we did. That's what, the parents learned. That's how we've all done it. And so this is the part that rattles a lot of people, especially when you're making a shift towards student-centered learning. It's that direct instruction and traditional gradual release can kill productive struggle. Ugh, not because they're evil, okay? Like, don't get me wrong, they have their place. But it's because they locate the struggle in the replication, not the reasoning. So it's putting struggle in the student's ability to replicate what we've done, to mimic what we've done, not to reason through it, okay? It asks our students to mimic without understanding. And it can create unproductive struggle when the procedures break. So like if it's not exactly like the second example you showed them, now they're struggling for no reason other than they don't understand it. They don't have the reasoning behind it and they were just trying to mimic you and the procedure doesn't work the exact same because now they have to multiply instead of divide. Okay? So, it can also damage their self-efficacy, which we know is huge, and it can reinforce societal myths about math people. I know it's a hot take. I said what I said. They do still have their place, but they can also kill productive struggle. Instead, though, you can flip it. You can do a you do, we share, I'm going to connect, right? Let your students struggle first. Let your students explore first. Let your students discuss first. Students try their own ideas first. Then you, as the expert, can synthesize, connect the ideas, formalize the vocab, highlight the structure. This is how your students are going to build their own understanding, not just borrowing yours. Okay. All right. Now, planning for productive struggle requires planning for a lot of things, as we've already dove into. I don't know the grammar on that right now. It's early today. But you also have to plan for group structures, class community, instructional routines. Okay. And there's a couple of things I just want to pull out real quick. We know this from other research as well. Trios are better than pairs. This is especially true if you've got a lot of multilingual learners. That was highlighted in here. And that your groups need time to gel. So maybe keep them together for more than just one or two lessons. I like to keep them together for an entire unit. That might be too long for you. Live your life, okay? Whatever it is, but give them some time to gel. And they should really be intentionally formed. So you want to consider like personalities, their representation strengths, their communication styles, their stamina, their need for support. Okay. All those things really matter when you're talking about groups. Now, instructional routines, those are going to help reduce the cognitive load. So they're going to provide that predictable structure, that safety net for you and your students. And they're going to let your students focus on the sense making and not the logistics of like, how does this activity run? Okay. So this could look at like, warm up routines, think, pair, share, group work protocols, gallery walks, math talks, whatever it is. Just have a couple of solid routines so that your students can struggle safely. Don't over like book yourself on these. Pick 2 to 3 instructional routines that are your go-tos that your students are going to know, love, and feel comfortable grappling with. Okay. Now, guys, here's where the chapter really like hit home. Okay. This approach, it contradicts how we learned math. And it contradicts how our parents and our students' parents learns math, which means teachers and parents might resist it at first. But you don't have to try everything and you don't have to change everything all at once. Instead, try to plan for productive struggle in one lesson a week for a quarter and see what happens. You're going to see deeper thinking, more voices being shared, more connections, stronger identities in your classroom, greater perseverance, and less dependence on you. Guys, this is the start of teaching math for the world our kids actually live in. So, your mini move for this week to wrap up this big, beefy episode, you guys, is to pick a task, any task, and modify it using one of the strategies for the day. Maybe you're going to reverse the question. Maybe you're going to ask them to add a representation. Maybe you're going to open it up. Maybe you're going to ask, does it always work? Or maybe you're going to have your students create a context with it, right? Just one change can turn a worksheet or a resource into a reasoning rich experience. All right, you guys. Next time, we're going to talk about action 5, supporting the productive struggle during the lesson. So, those are the like in the moment teacher moves that make you a facilitator of thinking and not just an answerer with legs, right? Okay. So if today's episode gave you some ideas, share it with your PLC or co-teacher. Go re-listen to the parts that you want to re-listen to. This was a big beefy chapter. We broke it down into a lot of different segments here. So remember, we're going to lesson plan to help our students think. We're going to design for that productive struggle intentionally, but we're going to do it in a way that is bite-sized and actionable for us because we don't need to burn out. That's the last thing we need. All right, you guys. That's it for this episode. As always, keep it real. Bye, guys.